Baldwin IV spent 11 years defending the Kingdom of Jerusalem while suffering from childhood leprosy. Despite severe deterioration, he successfully maintained royal authority and territorial borders against Saladin. Recognizing his approaching mortality, the king designed a political succession before dying at age 24. In 1183, Baldwin IV crowned his 5-year-old nephew, Baldwin V, as his senior co-king. This coronation deliberately prevented his contentious brother-in-law, Guy de Lusignan, from inheriting the crown directly. However, within 4 years of the king's death in 1185, every designated heir was dead. By 1187, Saladin had captured Jerusalem, completely destroying the kingdom that Baldwin IV sacrificed his life to defend. The legal structures designed to protect the realm failed to survive the political rivalries of the royal court. When 5-year-old Baldwin V assumed sole leadership of Jerusalem upon his uncle's death in 1185, rival regency factions immediately contested the child king's fragile authority. In March 1185, King Baldwin IV died, leaving 8-year-old Baldwin V as sole ruler of Jerusalem. To govern the kingdom during the royal minority, the High Court appointed Count Raymond III of Tripoli as regent. Raymond commanded the firm allegiance of a baronial coalition seeking regional stability. However, an opposing faction rapidly organized around the child monarch's mother, Princess Sibylla. This faction actively supported the ambitions of her husband, the controversial knight Guy de Lusignan. The central administration immediately fractured into 2 rival camps competing for executive authority. Despite these political fractures, legal guardians transferred young Baldwin V to the coastal fortress of HEIR. There, royal guardians attempted to insulate the young king from the escalating conflict. In August 1186, less than 11 months after assuming sole power, Baldwin V died suddenly. The king was 9 years old at the moment of his unexpected death. Medieval chroniclers debated whether the death resulted from physical illness or deliberate poison. However, surviving records supply no reliable evidence to verify either historical account. Royal servants transported the young monarch's body inland to Jerusalem for formal burial. They entombed the child king within the Church of the Holy Sepulchre alongside earlier monarchs. The formal funeral marked the absolute end of the royal dynasty. Baldwin IV had constructed an elaborate framework specifically to block Guy de Lusignan from royal authority. 11 months later, that legal defense had collapsed completely, leaving the Jerusalem throne empty. Following Baldwin V's death, Princess Sibylla negotiated a conditional coronation agreement with the High Court that permitted her ascension only if she annulled her marriage to Guy de Lusignan. In late 1186, the baronial council convened in Jerusalem to resolve the royal succession. Led by Raymond III of Tripoli and the Ibelline family, the nobility offered Princess Sibylla the crown. However, the council attached one explicit condition to her official ascension. She had to annul her controversial marriage to Guy de Lusignan before receiving the crown. Sibylla accepted the annulment condition without offering public opposition to the council. She stipulated one binding clause within the official agreement ratified by the council. The council confirmed in writing her right to choose her next husband after her coronation. The baronial leaders legally guaranteed this specific prerogative under feudal law. Patriarch Heraclius crowned Sibylla as Queen of Jerusalem inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Immediately following her official coronation, the queen promptly exercised this confirmed right. She summoned Guy de Lusignan forward and placed a royal crown upon his head. Sibylla officially designated her restored husband as her legitimate co-ruler and king. The baronial faction possessed no legal mechanism to challenge her action under feudal custom. Raymond III of Tripoli and the Ibelline family could not invalidate a decision they had ratified. Guy de Lusignan became king of Jerusalem through this documented sequence of constitutional choices. His coronation produced the political outcome that Baldwin IV had spent years attempting to prevent. Less than 10 months after obtaining the crown through this legal maneuver, King Guy de Lusignan marched the full military force of Jerusalem into the arid horns of Hattin to face Saladin's waiting army. In July 1187, King Guy de Lusignan marched the royal army toward besieged Tiberias. He positioned his forces in a waterless position near the horns of Hattin. Saladin's forces surrounded the exhausted troops and destroyed the Crusader army. Saladin captured King Guy alongside the baronial leaders of the kingdom. With the army destroyed, Saladin advanced directly upon Jerusalem in October 1187. Because King Guy remained a prisoner, Baldwin of Ibelin organized the city defense. Baldwin negotiated formal surrender terms, yielding Jerusalem without King Guy's involvement. Saladin released Guy from captivity in 1188 after the king pledged to leave Syria. Instead of departing, Guy broke his oath and joined the siege of Acre. In July 1190, a lethal epidemic swept through the crowded camp outside Acre. Queen Sibylla died of disease alongside her 2 daughters during the outbreak. Their deaths instantly dissolved the legal basis supporting Guy de Lusignan's royal claim. Within 5 years of his death in 1185, Baldwin IV's direct bloodline was extinct. His nephew Baldwin V, his sister Sibylla, and her children were all dead. The dynastic framework designed to preserve the kingdom resulted in complete bloodline extinction. With the extinction of Baldwin IV's direct line, the royal succession shifted to his half-sister, Sibylla I. As the daughter of King Amalric I's second marriage, Sibylla represented the dynastic link. Her legal claim became a vital instrument within the deeply divided realm. Over the subsequent decade, the High Court transferred the nominal title through Sibylla's successive marriages. She was forced into political unions with 4 different husbands chosen by baronial consensus. The kingship of Jerusalem transformed from an inherited right into a title acquired through marriage. Each royal marriage responded directly to pressing necessities rather than dynastic continuity. After losing his claim following Queen Sibylla's death, Guy de Lusignan sought territorial authority. In 1192, he purchased the island of Cyprus from the Knights Templar and established a royal dynasty. The Lusignan house ruled Cyprus for centuries while maintaining their formal claim to the mainland kingdom. European rulers continued to claim the prestigious title of King of Jerusalem without possessing physical control. This title operated as a legal fiction recognized in diplomatic negotiations across medieval Europe. Monarchs held the crown as a symbol of legitimacy long after losing the actual city. The collapse of the kingdom was not caused by a failure of constitutional planning. Baldwin IV's strategy of co-kingship offered the most structured solution available under feudal law. Crowning 5-year-old Baldwin V in 1183 was designed specifically to prevent Guy de Lusignan's ascension. The framework relied upon feudal institutions and established protocols to maintain political stability. However, the strategy depended entirely upon human variables that failed in rapid succession. The child king died at age 9 in Acre before reaching his political maturity. Queen Sibylla executed a legal maneuver that bypassed the council's conditional agreement. Finally, King Guy's tactical failure at the Horns of Hattin destroyed the field army defending Jerusalem. The Kingdom of Jerusalem as a territorial entity ceased to exist in 1291 after Acre finally fell. Primary charters and legal documents preserve the written history of the kingdom's institutional failure. Physical evidence of the short-lived succession remains preserved within the urban landscape of Jerusalem. In 1186, royal servants buried King Baldwin V inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. 19th-century fires damaged the royal tombs constructed during the Latin Kingdom's historical existence. Today, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre stands in Jerusalem as the documented burial site of Latin kings.